Welcome to the Energized Hairdresser, the wellness podcast for stylists who are ready to stop running on empty and start fueling their body, mind, and business with energy that actually lasts. I'm your host, Ashley Jo Gillen, certified health coach and lifelong hairdresser with over 20 plus years behind the chair. Here we blend salon life with practical nutrition, wellness, and mindset coaching designed for real demands of stylist life. Each episode gives you simple tools you can use between clients, honest conversations about the industry, and encouragement you need to take care of you so you can show up energized, confident, and balanced behind the chair. If you're tired of running on caffeine and chaos, you are in the right place. All right, let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Energized Hairdresser. I'm coming at you after my salon work day, and I'm here for it. We're going to talk about something today that I am very much into. Well, it's been a little bit of a buzzword. Okay, so picture this. You're like 20 minutes into a color application and your brain starts going. Your hands are busy, but your brain is running in a completely different direction. Did I switch the laundry over? What are we having for dinner? Oh, I forgot to set out chicken. Or shoot, I need to respond to that client. When am I going to be able to get them in? I'm hungry. I wish food would magically show up. The things that go through our brain is nonstop. I mean, my brain's nonstop. And that's not just anxiety. I mean, those thoughts can produce anxiety, but you're not just being disorganized. That is the mental load. And if you're a hairdresser, you're carrying a version of it, and most people don't even realize it. So we're going to talk about that today. Today, we're breaking it down, and I'm giving you some actual tools to help ease this mental load that we're carrying. I know it's kind of like a new word, mental load, but holy cow, even right now, as I'm doing this podcast, I'm like, okay, well, what are you having for dinner? Like, I didn't set out any beef, I was going to have spaghetti, but anyway, so the mental load is here. It's there. It's heavy. So before we kind of talk about how to fix it, let's talk about what it is. If we can name it, that we can change it. I'm here all week. So the mental load is not your to-do list. The mental load is the work managing the to-do list and also how the to-do list makes you feel and the thoughts around that. The anticipating, the tracking, the remembering, the planning ahead. The thought that swirls around in your head over and over and over and over and over again. Because it lives in your head, not on a calendar or not planned out, or they're those repetitive tasks that go on repeatedly. Every Saturday, I like to clean out my refrigerator. Sunday, I like to meal prep. But my mental load right now is more on the content and coaching side of things and the communication. And I'm posting to Instagram because I want to attract hairdressers. So that mental load is a little different than if I were just trying to attract clients or just carry the client load that I have. But also too, the mental load is just the clients that you have. Like when you're in the salon, but you're thinking about, gosh, I got to go home and I got to do this, I got to do that. Like right now, we're kind of in a busy season of just extra things. So your mental load is just the stuff that you're doing or the things that you're thinking about while you're blow drying hair. When I'm blow drying hair, I am mapping out so many things. Or when I was super, super sick, when I was blow drying hair, I was praying. I was like, Lord, get me through this person. Lord, let me dig deep because the blow dry is a double-edged sword. Okay, so sociologists call it cognitive labor. It's the invisible organizational work that keeps a household and a clientele running. Laundry, groceries, meals, school obligations, children. Oh my gosh, the times I tell my children, ask what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the plan? Woo! It's the sports games. It's the stress of going out to eat after a sports game, knowing that you're like, well, this probably isn't really in our budget to go out to eat, but It's making my kids happy and I don't have to cook, but this food isn't really that good and whatever. The problem with invisible work is it doesn't get acknowledged or it gets acknowledged very little. It might not get shared and it never feels done. I want to say I am 42 years old and I have finally accepted that dishes will always exist. They'll always exist. They'll never not be dishes. And I'm type B. Like we're talking about hair, home, and health. And I want to really talk about that home component because I think it can get really ignored, especially if you're very driven behind the chair. My person that I'm talking to, she's driven. She wants to be a star. Like she wants to be in the top percent of hairdressers in her local area. However, she's also juggling a home. So when I've accepted that my dishes will never be done, it's okay. Now it's just like dishes are just a part of life. I also make my children do dishes because why not? And then they're like, "Mom, there's so many cups." Yeah, I know there's so many cups because you know why? You guys get a new cup every time. And especially when I started homeschooling and then I'm like, jokes on me. Now I'm making breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I bet I ran my dishwasher 3 times a day. Well, 2. When I had a client when we were building our house back in 22, 21, whenever it was, we were building our house in 21. She said, "Oh yeah, if I were to build a house again, I would do 2 dishwashers." And I thought, 2 dishwashers? What? She's brilliant. The house we sold, we had 2 laundry rooms. I hated it. It was so awful for my ADHD, but 2 dishwashers, I can get behind that. And why are not dishwashers like the restaurants? Why can you do a restaurant dishwashing in like 3 minutes? Why is ours like an hour and a half? So silly. But that's not the point of this podcast, okay? So the mental work is just stuff that's always there. So as a hairdresser, and I'm sure there's other professions that carry this as well, but this is the energized hairdresser. I'm talking to you, the hairdresser, okay? So you carry a double load because at work, you're tracking every client's color. You're tracking whether or not you have that color in stock, texture, lifestyle, last conversation, sensitivities, preferences, not emotional baggage, just emotional connection. And you're doing that for 8 to 10, maybe 4 to 12 people a day, depending on where you are in your business. 5 days a week, 4 days a week, and standing. You're also managing the emotional tone of every single appointment, reading the room, holding space, being on. Holy cow, that is a job in and of itself. Any other tradesman can go to work independently. If you're a plumber, you're not chatting with the people that you're working on their pipes. They're just doing their job. Welder, he's just doing welding things, or they're just doing welding things alone, not worrying about it. But we're working on the most precious thing on their exterior, their hair, their crown and glory. And like, we're doing that while we're thinking about 47 other things. So also too at home, most of us is probably the default household manager, the one who knows when the dentist appointments are and what groceries are low and whose turn it is to bring snacks to practice. And thank God our game got rained out this week because it was my turn to take snacks to practice. I didn't have snacks. I'm just going to keep it real. I was going to have to go to the Dollar General. And you know what kind of community I live in now because I just said I had to go to the Dollar General because there's one 15 minutes from here. All right. And I'm here for that. I'm here for those flyover states. Okay. And all of these things, they don't clock out when your shift ends. We're going to carry it into the car. We're going to carry it into the grocery store. We're going to carry it home. That exhaustion, that disassociation that you feel at the end of your shift, that's just that mental load. It's the holding space and being on all day, no breaks, just cortisol cranked. And once you're done, it crashes. And I got to go home and like find your flow again. So here's some of the real costs about decision fatigue. And by the end of the day, your brain has made 100 bajillion micro decisions and it's done. It's over it. That's why you stand in front of the fridge and can't figure out like what's for dinner. It's because you're tapped. Your brain is depleted. I think it's like your brain can only make so many decisions a day. That's why like Steve Jobs wore the same thing. As I was talking here, clothing. Clothing sucks the life out of me. And I mean, I don't know if I'm not like super fixy, but like I want to feel good in my clothes. But when I don't feel good in my clothes, I don't feel good. So anyway, that's a big mental burden. It's a first world problem. That's what it is. Anyway, so the emotional depletion is when you're constantly tackling and anticipating for everyone else. There's very little left for yourself. And that's not fair. All right. But it is what it is, you know? Like, unless we all like get nannies, which I don't know. Sometimes I think that would be great. Anyway, so burnout that sneaks up on you. This is like you're emotionally depleted, you're just tapped. This type of burnout is the one that's going to sneak up on you. It's one thing to be like burnout like at our job or bored, but like the decision fatigue, man, is like rough. So, what are we going to do? How are we going to change it? What's the thing? So this isn't just like, maybe all of us type B moms are just a little bit, we just got too many tabs open. Maybe I'm a recovering type B. Maybe my natural state is a type B, but I'm trying to learn to operate in just a more of a flow state. Anyway, so this is not a character flaw. You're not bad at life or you're not bad at what you're doing. You're probably doing all of this and like not even realizing it. But it's okay if you feel a little wore out after a while. We just kind of need to restructure it. I had a post up this weekend. No, I can't remember what day it was. Thursday. And there was a comment. It's like, let's not glorify hustle culture. And I'm like, ma'am, I'm definitely not glorifying hustle culture. I'm like anti hustle culture. However, if you're chronically fatigued and you have a full book and you're probably starting to book into August, that lends to brown paper bag syndrome, which means you're hyperventilating in the car and you probably need a little bit of reframing, some tools to help you. I probably utilize these tools several times a week. This isn't like a one and done. Okay. So, practical tools to kind of help offload this. We're going to talk. This is like the brain dump, as you will, the brain drain, a thought download, categorizing your thoughts. This is you and a piece of paper or your notes app. I like to do paper because the physical act of writing helps me. There's something cathartic about it. So, when your brain is your only storage system, it works overtime, trying not to forget things. We have to get this out of your head. When you can get your thoughts out of your head, then they're separate from you. When you can write down, and also, if you're writing down the same activity over and over and over again and not doing it, maybe it's not a priority. Maybe we can put that in a column for that's important but not urgent. Okay. There's I think that's called the Eisenhower matrix where it's like urgent, important, not urgent. There's like 4 quadrants, not urgent, not important, like not all of this stuff has to happen every week because we have to be realistic. Okay. So once a week, either you're going to forecast, brain dump as you will. You're going to think about the activities that you need to do Sunday night, Monday morning. You need to do this by Monday morning. So maybe it's Saturday night. I'm very content with being at home. So I will probably do this tonight. because Sundays are a day where I like to be a little bit productive. I like to kind of get a good jump on the week. So once a week, you get to pick. You're going to set a timer, 10, 15 minutes, and write down everything that's living in your brain. Appointments, tasks, worries, things that you're tracking for other people, things that you keep forgetting, random stuff. Involve your family, children. What do you have going on this week? Partner, what's your plan this week? Get it all out, see what's going on. You could even turn this into a family meeting, right? Kind of see what's going on. Where do you need to be? When do you need to be there? What activities do we have going on this week? And then that can help determine what you're going to do for dinner. And also, maybe like I won't get to dinner. Yeah. I won't get into food planning because I don't want to sidetrack. But like if you're working till 8 or if you have ball games, don't put meatloaf on that night unless you're putting it in the crock pot, which is brilliant. But for a long time, I would make these meal plans and I would think, yeah, I'm going to make that. But I wouldn't factor in my like work schedule. We got to factor in like reality here. Okay. So this does two things. It tells your brain it's safe to let it go. It's written down and it's like, it shows what's actually on your plate versus like what feels like everything. I got to get everything done. I'm like, I even had to do this verbally this morning to my husband because I'm like, when we feel overwhelmed, your body's going to take action or it's going to shut down or it's going to do something. It's going to fight, flight, or freeze. My default is to freeze. Everything feels hard. I don't have time. I can't do it. This is a practice I'm actively working through and I'm doing these tips. So, where you write this stuff down, you're going to pick like a place, whether that's your notes app, Notion, a whiteboard, a planner, or don't go buy a new planner, ma'am, because you probably have one. I know those academic planners are showing up. I'm not going to tell you what to do. If you want to buy a planner and it gives you dopamine, go ahead because nothing makes life better than a new notebook or a new planner. But make it your place. I committed to Notion. Like I write a lot of my business stuff down in Notion. And then I have a physical planner that I tend to write my home tasks in. And some weeks I'm in my Notion, like I'm in my like physical planner a little bit more. Some weeks I'm not. It's fine. I just know where it is. So pick a tool and like whenever you think I'm overwhelmed, go to the same tool. Just go to the same place because nothing's more frustrating than a good brain dump. And you're like, well, shoot, where did it go? Okay. So we can take some of these things. So once you have everything down on your piece of paper, all right, what needs action? What's a thought? What's a bigger task here? Like I will like if my task is always like clean the bathrooms because it's always a task I got to do. I know I don't want to do it. I literally write out wipe mirror down, clean sink, scrub commode, like sweep floor. I write all of those things down when it comes to clean the bathroom because if I look at the list, it says clean bathroom. I'm like, what? Clean bathroom? There's something about specifically naming the items like meal prep. No, 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 no. I need to boil eggs, cut onions, chop the broccoli, put them in baggies. Like I have to get specific and granular. That's how my brain works. And it's so much easier for me to take action. If I just say meal prep what? What are we meal prepping? Okay. So every decision you make takes mental energy. What the goal is to eliminate as many reoccurring decisions as possible. So this could be a meal rotation, 5 to 7 dinners that are on repeat. A lot of people have a 2-week rotation or a 3-week rotation and they do it again. And if you really think about it, you probably have about 21 dinners in your pocket that you're going to go through. And if you're listening to this and you're not in the US, then I want to know what dinners you have in your pocket, your go-tos. because yeah. Ooh, we should start like a meal thread in my schoolroom. I'll tell you about that in the end. Okay. So meal rotations, 5 to 7 dinners that are on repeat. Is it boring? Who cares? No, you're being smart. Save the creative, save your creative energy for things that matter. Maybe like your client's hair or your hair or your wardrobe, whatever. Okay. Client communications. Maybe it's like a go-to response for rebooking. This could like live in your notes app, a standard reply for after hours text, a consistent way to handle cancellations. We don't have to rewrite every time, right? So morning routine, same order every day. Now, this like is logical if your brain works like that, but I do not operate in like what are the types that like put their shoe like my husband. My husband's type A. He can take those Crocs off every time in his closet. They go in the same place. I don't understand. I don't understand how his brain works. I take my shoes off as soon as I enter my home, like wherever that may be. As soon as my body's like, take those shoes off, they're off. And that could be in the kitchen, it could be in the living room. It's usually underneath our bar area, like where we eat. And then I'm yelling at my children to pick up their shoes. And I look at my 3 shoes on the ground and I'm like, does that make me more relatable or does that make me less? I'm going to go with more. Anyway, that's my hope. Okay. So morning routine. You probably have a flow, a morning rhythm per se. I like the word rhythm because it's a little bit more like less stringent, but a morning rhythm. I get up, I make my coffee, I kind of think about what I need to do. If I'm feeling it, I'm in the laundry room, like decision free start, like more bandwidth for the day ahead. Okay. So those are a couple things. Take your flow, especially after you do this routine a couple weeks. Like you're going to see how you probably do have a rhythm to your life. And then let's kind of get that on autopilot a little bit. And then we'll get your family involved. And when you can see that routine and you can see how things are flowing, then the family kind of all follow suit. That's in my experience. Okay. The third suggestion I have here is very helpful. You could do a not my job audit. You're going to write down everything you're currently tackling, managing. Does this actually have to be me? You ask yourself that. Do I actually have to do this? Could my partner help in certain areas? Yes, they could. No, it doesn't have to be you. Could it be your mother, your mother-in-law? Could it be what could we get let go of so you have more space? Write down all the things that you're currently managing and then let's go from there. Some of it does. Some of the default decisions like you're going to be good at, or because you stepped in once, like now it's yours. But like my husband will be like, oh, you need to get the oil change. I was like, no, I don't. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And, or I said, look, I buy the groceries. You can take the van to get that oil changed. I'm not doing it. Like taking out the trash. Nope. I'm not taking out that trash. I got dishes all the time. My boys hate taking out the trash. And they're always like, like my stepdaughter's there and they're like, why doesn't she take out the trash? And I'm like, boys, I want you to know the sooner you accept that you get the trash job, the better life is going to be. And then even last week, the big boys took out the trash. And then my almost 5-year-old, he like put the bags in and he's like, Mom, I got it. I got it. I'm like, yes, yes. Anyway, so let's talk about some partner delegation and or child delegation. We're not necessarily asking for help, but assigning ownership. Like I have one client where, I mean, this would be cool, but like she takes 3 nights of meals and he takes 3 nights of meals. And then I think one night they just do leftovers or something, but she's like, I go to the grocery store for those 3 meals and her partner goes to the grocery store for those 3 meals. And it's like, that's what they do. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And that works for them. And that's something that they came up with. But like, if we're dragging are down and we're like drowning, like it's okay to ask for like help. Okay. And maybe your partner would be totally fine to cook. I mean, mine, I mean, yeah, he'll do it, but it's probably gonna be like tacos. He'll make tacos, you know. I like to cook because I'm picky. That's what I've really deduced my love of cooking down. I am picky. I want anyway, that's here nor there. So kids like age appropriate ownership, like older kids can manage their own schedules. They could potentially start their own laundry. They could be packing their own bags, know their own activities. Like let's give our children some more ownership. It's good for them. Like I think that there was a study that's saying children that have chores are going to be more adapt. Like one of my clients, she works in admissions in a college, and apparently parents are calling the college because the kid isn't going to school, like class. No, no, we're not doing that. Like we need to set up our children for success, our children for adulthood. But I digress. So systems that replace you, like auto pay, auto order, shared calendars. I do believe if I owned a Skylight calendar, it'll solve all my problems, but like probably not. I mean, I'm only going to know if I buy one, but I'm not going to buy one. Maybe one day. What kind of systems can we do? Like what kind of things can we like have? Like my boys will set the table. Like they'll do things in the household because it's everyone's. Right? Also too, like, potentially having, like, like, a central hub in your place, like, I just recently got this cabinet because I'm a piler, not a filer, and, that's an actual system. That's an actual way to structure your life, okay? There are 4 types of organizational methods in this world, and most methods that we see online are for one specific brain type, and not all of us work that way. Me. Okay. I have an essential hub. I recently got just a new cabinet in my like kitchen, dining, living room, and it's been very helpful. My mail goes in there for mail day when I choose to pay attention to my mail. Okay. So the mental load can multiply when you're like in 6 different places, like your phone notes, your paper list, a text thread, your memory, your email, sticky notes on the mirror. Like pick a spot, get a notebook or get a planner or your notes app and just stick with that. When you see a cool thing on Instagram, I saw someone's really cool thing that they did on Instagram and they took all of their notes and they were able to do reminders and they put it on their dashboard and I was like, that's cool. But but if we do that, then that's what you need to do. It's not about like, we don't. We need to stop constantly like mental cross referencing. Like find a spot. That's where your stuff lives. Okay. So some practical things that we can do to ease the physical burden of the mental load is you can't always like restructure everything. So we need tools to regulate while you're in it because life does not change overnight, you know. Okay. It's not about fixing the problem in the moment, but keeping your nervous system from flatlining before you get home is the goal. So your nervous system, like a 60-second rest between clients, your nervous system doesn't automatically reset when one client walks out and another one walks in. You can carry over their energy, their problem, the pressure of the appointment, how hot and sweaty you are. Like you know, it's okay, even if they're there to like reset. That's why I'm very curious of like, if we were to factor in, if like someone were to follow us around for a month, like with our schedule, like how much our service timing is actually correct. Because if you think about it, do we factor in sweeping, cleaning up our station, and checking a client out and rescheduling them in their appointment time? You know, no, I mean, not always. I do, you know. So before your next client comes in, take 60 seconds, just 60 seconds. Take a sip of water, sweep up your hair. Obviously, you're cleaning up your station. Even if they're sitting out there, still do that. You're allowed because they want fresh you too. They don't want like stale you. You know, you could do like a physiological sigh. Like in through the nose, like out through the mouth. There's like box breathing. That's breath is the fastest way to downregulate your nervous system. And you do that twice. You could like alternate breathing where you breathe in through one nostril and then you exhale through another nostril. It's a good way to like wake up yourself. Okay. You could do a grounding like a grounding question, not like just like, what do I need to do today? Or even more granular, what can I do within this next hour? Just a brief check in with yourself. Okay. So your brain needs a signal that one thing has ended and another has began without it, like it just kind of blends together. That's why like a lot of us just kind of go home a zombie and mostly tidying up. Then what are we doing from like one to another? So transition cues can be small, consistent rituals that make the switch. Maybe it's totaling up your day. Maybe it's like taking a drink of water. Maybe it's making a coffee that's decaf in the afternoon. Maybe it's getting a little bit of a snack. When we are done with our shift and that feeling hits, well, that's your nervous system. That's not just simply exhaustion. That's your nervous system kind of like tapped. So, like having these transition cues really help you go from one activity to the next because my objective and goal for you as a hairdresser is to help you go from your life behind the chair to your life with ease and flow and joy. Right. So, breath, water, taking a moment. These things might feel small, but they really do give your brain just they help you shift gears instead of staying in the same zone all day long. All right. Okay, we're almost done. So transitioning from like work to home is one of the most important and skipped moments. If you walk in the door still carrying the salon, you bring all of it home to you. The mental load from work stacks on top of the mental load for your home. And now everyone in your house feels it. So, non negotiables before you go inside, sit in your car, take some breaths, change your music, call a friend, roll your shoulders, walk around the block, whatever helps. I know one time I gave that advice and someone's like, walk around the block after you've been on your feet all day. If you can't walk around the block after you've been on the feet all day, like your feet all day, then I'm going to challenge you that that's not something like you, you we should be able to do that. You might not like that, but we should be able to. So the goal here is just to protect your family from like the leftovers. We want to give our family what is good and like give them, I mean, at least to like a decent part of us. It might not be the best, but decent, right? Anyway, so, just to kind of recap, remember you showed up for your people, your clients, for every person that sat in your chair. Like you've held their stories, you've tracked their needs, you've made them feel seen, you've made them feel better. It's not a small thing, but you cannot keep doing that from a depleted tank. So as we move into this new week, pick one thing, pick one thing from this conversation, a brain dump, a default dinner, a 60-second reset, just one thing. And try it out this week to see what kind of shifts you make in your day. So if you would like to have more support in your workday, a place to hang out, a place to ask questions, come join me over in school. It's an app that lives on your phone or desktop. Super easy to navigate. If I can navigate it, anybody can. And I have a schoolroom. It's called the Energized Hairdresser. It's very original, but you can kind of come in there, ask questions, see what everybody else is doing, kind of just scope it out. I wanted to build a community where we could converse and connect because like things can be really lonely, I think, in this industry. And especially if you're trying to balance it all or you're burnt out or you're feeling the stress of everything, then come hang out and like you're not alone. I want to support you. And I'm in there each week answering questions. So yeah, I'm here for it. Some good real talk. So next week, we're going to talk about some hair stuff. We're going to talk about our craft. We're going to spark some joy in our craft. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, there we go. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this episode was helpful for you, resonated with you, or just didn't resonate, no, just kidding. Shoot me or a message on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you because sometimes I wonder if this podcast is just out in the abyss and I don't really know. I don't even know if people like it, but I hope they do. I like it. It's fun. So I hope everyone has a great week and I will see you on the next one.